Fueled by coffee.
Fueled by the day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beauties with Strategies. My name is Chantsy, your host and your makeup tutorial expert. And this is my special guest, Michaela Alexis. Michaela. I messed it up.
I knew you were going to say it too.
It's because I know Michaela and this is Michaela. I'm so sorry. What not to do. I'm not an interviewer usually, so I'm learning. So we have a special guest. She is a professional speaker. You are a LinkedIn influencer. Mm-hmm. What else? We both have good hair. We're both brand ambassadors of Hair Republic, a local salon in Ottawa. Mm-hmm. And we both have endometriosis. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, we have so many great things in common, and I thought you'd be a perfect guest. And I want to learn from you today a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because you always share on your platforms the notion of leaving your kind of not dead-end job, but your brain dead job because you're just not passionate about it. Mm-hmm. So how to leave your day job and just go full force if you have a side hustle or if you just want to be doing something for yourself. So right now that's resonating with me. And I just thought, I can be the little guinea pig and we can chit-chat about all this stuff.
I'm really excited because this is the first time I don't think I've ever even put on makeup in front of a camera.
Oh, really?
Especially with an interview. So I don't know how this is going to go.
I know. So if I do my eyeliner, it might get really sudden.
And I do this a lot.
So we both have our little mirrors. We both have our makeup. Generally, I have way more makeup than my guests because that's just the name of the game. But you're like my most makeup person, I think, so far. I have two other guests that I've... Yeah, so this is good. This might take time and I might not be the only one putting makeup on, so...
I'll be sure to stare at you awkwardly if that happens.
Okay, so I'm going to start my makeup, but why don't you kind of give the guests a backstory if they don't know who you are and what you do.
So I love that you kind of focus on the career aspect of it because a couple years ago or 3 years ago now, I was in that place where I kind of thought that you just worked somewhere and paid the bills and that was life. And I was going from job to job once every 2 to 3 years. And I was at a certain point, I was about a month away from my 30th birthday. I'm there's got to be a better way to live. I'd been in my career for 7 years at that point, and I wasn't any far ahead towards my goals than I was when I first started.
Can I share something? On my desk, I have a sticky note that says, "Gosh, I want it so bad." And it was something that I said to myself when I parked my car, and then I was about to leave to go into the office, and I was "Gosh, I want it so bad." But I'm I don't know what my it is yet. Yeah. But so that's that feeling. That's the feeling.
Yeah, I didn't really know. Yeah, I didn't know exactly what that it was, but I knew that I need to kind of figure out, and I had to be a little bit more strategic rather than just sending out a whole bunch of resumes and just hoping that somebody would hire me.
Right.
And so I started writing down what my dream job would look like, and I had to take out things like parking and salary and all the things that we generally look for, and it's what kind of culture do I want to be part of? How do I want to feel every single morning? How do I want to feel at the end of the day? And I ended up landing my dream job in about 2 weeks. I used LinkedIn exclusively, didn't send out a single resume, just kind of relied on the community. And I wrote an article in March of 2016 called How I Landed My Dream Job in 2 weeks. And that ended up going viral, which was really exciting for me because the whole intention behind it was to help other job seekers. And so that was kind of just a happy accident. But then of course, as a marketer, I was okay, well, why is this resonating with so many people? And I think it was just the fact that it was real and it was honest, and it was something totally different than what was on LinkedIn at the time, which was all very kind of stale and conservative.
Yeah. And it was obviously valuable, right? We always talk about giving value, as creators, and even the spirit of this show, it's to learn from strong business women. We can still do makeup, but we also have a lot up here, and this is that's the spirit of the show, right? So adding value. So that's most likely what your article did, right?
Exactly. I mean, I didn't really know it at the time, but I was really excited about the fact that, because everyone said that the personal and professional self was separated, and I was finding that they're actually very, very aligned with each other, or they should be aligned. And so I just kept writing on LinkedIn. I mean, I already love writing anyways. And so I just started touching on things that people weren't really talking about, like fear of failure and rejection and being laid off and reporting harassment in the business world. And people were just like hungry for it. It's kind of like any other platform, right? When you start talking about things that people are afraid to talk about, then you feel like you're building a community, and that's definitely what's happened to me. So over the past 3 years, I've gone from landing my dream job and then starting a company with my then bosses, and then eventually that company was acquired and now I work solo, but I've been able to craft my dream career where I pretty much get to do whatever I want and work with the people that I want to, and built a community of about 150,000 people in the process.
Wow. So what's your following on LinkedIn? It's 150?
150, yeah.
Wow. And it's funny, like, people, I'm sure you hear this all the time, like, oh, you're a LinkedIn influencer? Like, is that a thing? Or is I don't know. I'm assuming, because it's very unique, but no wonder, like, you've been able to really find a home for yourself, like, because I'm sure you're not doing what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, you know what I like about LinkedIn is that it's really, really slow, and I feel like I'm very, very slow and cautious, and so they are probably about 10 years behind Instagram and Facebook and all the other platforms, but I like that because their growth has been so like slow and steady, and now it's really been picking up. You're starting to see a lot more influencers on LinkedIn for sure, and brand partnerships and sponsored posts and that kind of stuff. I mean, last year I worked with IHG and Crown Plaza, and that came directly through LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's good foundation. That looks.
This is the Fenty, yeah.
Very good. Yeah, it looks flawless. IRL.
I like that you use...
talk about makeup, obviously.
It's like, you use, like, so little. Like, usually, like, for foundation, I'm using, like, 4 or 5 pumps, but I'm using, like,
very
2.
Little. Yeah, I know. I find this one's powerful, too. I'm using Lancome Teint Idole, which was gifted to me, but I really love it, and it's, like, just the right... I actually dilute it, because I find it's a little bit too heavy, so I put Lumic lotion in it. So let's talk about, like, your onstage persona, or if you have one, or how do you navigate that? Because go.
I mean, I love being able to go on stage. I don't know if you're like this too, but I feel like I was born to be a performer.
Yes.
Like when I was little, I used to have this. Yeah, exactly. We're literally on camera while I'm asking this.
I'm very shy.
I used to have a drawer in my house when I was like probably about 6 years old. And it had my favorite clothes in it. So, like, my sparkliest clothes, my spandex. This is the 90s, right? So, like, that neon spandex, all of that stuff was in the drawer. And then every time, so my dad was a family doctor, but then on the side, he sold Nu Skin products. I don't know if you remember Nu Skin.
No.
So, it's kind of like an Arbonne kind of thing. And so he would have people over and kind of, like, be pitching them. And I didn't care who was coming in the house. They were getting entertained. So I would literally go to the drawer, open it up. I would have my song ready. The cassette was ready to go. And I would literally just dance for people.
You're like, this is my moment.
Yeah. And it was so funny because, like, in real life, I was very, very shy. But when, like, I did dancing competitions, I did public speaking, and people were always shocked that I could even, like, speak or that, like, I moved because I was so, like, such a mute when I wasn't on stage.
Okay.
And so I feel like I've always had that in me. And what's really exciting now is that I get to wear the most ridiculous clothes possible. Like, I have, again, like, a full drawer full of, like, the sparkliest things I can find. I have one jacket that I live for, and it's, like, suede, neon green with fringes, and my husband is like, don't wear that anywhere. I'm like, I'm wearing it everywhere.
This is stage me.
Yeah, but I'm terrified to wear that stuff in, like, regular life, but on stage,
so you do have
it.
a little persona thing.
Like,
okay.
Yeah.
So she's sparkly, she's edgy, she's fluorescent.
That's like my Sasha Fierce. I feel like I should have a different name for my stage persona because I do feel like it's a different person.
Okay. And are you like introverted in real life?
100%.
Okay.
I actually had agoraphobia, which is a fear of public spaces, so I couldn't leave my house for like a year and a half. I was just terrified of people. I ended up having, my first panic attack was when I was at Carleton. And then from that day, I was so terrified of having another panic attack that I would like immediately like break down as soon as I would go outside. And, So yeah, I definitely have like two sides to me. Obviously, I've overcome that. I wouldn't be here if I didn't, but...
Yeah, so how do you balance that with being a famous public speaker? Like, that must be... Or you've had to overcome it, but I'm sure there's...
Yeah.
Must come back a little bit.
Yeah, I know when I travel, when I've reached my, like, too much people moment, where I'm like, I'm ready to, like, go home and see nobody and just hang out with my dogs. But for the most part, I think that I've got, like, kind of gotten past it because I've been so open about it. And I think that's, like, with anything, the less power that you give to your secrets, the, like, less strong they actually are. Yeah. So, like, I'm a big fan of bringing your... I don't want to say your skeletons, but, like, the things that are... Your vulnerability and kind of leading with that because... I mean, the first time is terrifying. Like, I remember the first time I said agoraphobia on stage, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, people are gonna judge me. And then people are just like, so what's for lunch? And, like, people are we're all so much in our own, like, we're already thinking about our own insecurities that those things don't kind of faze us. And if anything, like, people think that you're more endearing when you can show that you have that side, too, so. And
for the most part, people are supportive. And, like, we forget that. We're like... Oh, everyone's gonna judge me.
Like, really, what are people gonna do? Like, I had agoraphobia, it's like, ha ha, like Nelson from, like, The Simpsons, it's not gonna happen. So, but, like, I have people that come up to me and they're like, I have anxiety. I'm like, that's not whisper-worthy. Like, shout it out from the rooftops. That's what makes you, like, human.
A real person.
And I feel like anxiety and all of those issues can actually make you stronger because I feel like when you have those moments of weakness, I mean, I know personally that the people that I know that have gone through the most are the ones that are the strongest and are the ones that are the most grateful because when you see, like for me, you know, I spent a year where I couldn't go to the movie theaters, I couldn't go to restaurants, and so now that I can do that, I love, like, those moments, and I appreciate them so much more than I would have if I just always was able to do that.
Yeah, like, your vulnerability is cheating you from living, like, your best life. Like,
100%.
You need to get over it. So did you do something, like, specific? Did you have...
Yeah, I actually had so it's funny, I never took therapy. It just, I feel like it's like everything in life, you just have these moments where you decide it's either going to be X or X, but I can't live in limbo like this. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was, like, I was a really good student when I was at Carleton, and I was going to an exam. I was on the train, and I was having a panic attack, as usual, and I literally told myself, I'm like, I've spent 2 weeks preparing for this exam. I can either go home, and this is going to be my life, or I can suck it up, and I can go there and have a panic attack in the middle of, like, the exam room, and just deal with it. And that's exactly what I did. And what I found is that immediately when I made that decision, it disappeared. Like, as fast as, like, the agoraphobia came on, as fast as it disappeared. So I never really went to therapy or anything like that, but I didn't talk about it for probably about 3-4 years after that, because I felt like it was such a weakness.
And so if someone's watching here and if they want to kind of work on their public speaking or become a professional speaker, or do you have any tips? Because obviously this is Beauties with Strategies. We need to learn from this. So how can someone get started, or what's your advice?
So, I mean, first things first is have something to talk about. Do something in your life. I think that there's so many people that want to perform, and I just talked about how I love to perform, but when I speak, I'm not performing, I'm serving. And so I spent years before I spoke about anything really diving into LinkedIn and LinkedIn strategies and figuring out how everything worked. And so now I go on stage and I'm driven by that passion. If you don't have that passion, it can be terrifying. Like, you'll get stage fright and all those things, but when you're led by something that you're really excited about, then it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, like, I did a speaker's course, and, you know, one of the bigger tips was, like, it's your story. So you're not going to forget your story.
Exactly.
It's in your head.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's like, live your life, like, build something so that it becomes part of your story, and then you'll have something to share.
Absolutely.
So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that the worst advice I've ever gotten is that imagine everybody in their underwear. That is horrifying.
It's terrible.
Like, why do people say that? I don't want to.
Because they do forget.
Yeah. I mean, if the person is not good looking, then you don't want to see them. And if the person is good looking, I'm like, I'm a married woman.
and you start blushing and you get all awkward. Yeah.
So no, I would not recommend that. But I do recommend really trying to, especially if you are introverted, is to connect with people in advance. So I'm all about like finding the hashtag for the event and figuring out who's going to be there, trying to like spark up a conversation, maybe standing at the door and introducing yourself. So then it really becomes like you're inviting people into your home rather than like, I'm up here and you're down here. Because like if you can make that connection right away, I mean, I'm a big fan of like putting out a joke right away or leading with vulnerability. I mean, I do a stage change for my keynote where I change into like my Lululemons. I mean, it
like
was
in
part
front of people while you're talking.
I have 2 pairs of pants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a little tricky, but it's all about like showing up as yourself, bringing yourself to the stage. It really does feel more comfortable when you do that.
Okay, like the stage girl comes out, but also the like that introvert. That little agoraphobia girl, she comes out too. Yeah,
absolutely.
Huh, interesting.
I remember my very first keynote was actually at the Sony Centers in front of 2,000 people, and I was terrified. And I had rehearsed it so many times, and I get on stage and I'm like, I need to tell people that this is my first keynote. Like, it just came to me. And I'm like, there's so many people here. They're going to get it. Like, they want you to win. They're not sitting there, like, hoping that you're going to fail. Unless you're a really terrible person. And so that was the first thing that I said. Like, the video is up there. Like, this is my very first keynote. And everyone just, like, erupted in applause because then I became one of them. Right? Rather than me versus you.
It's the connecting with your audience again. Cool.
And then it made the whole thing so much easier because I just felt like I could just show up as myself.
So we talked about quickly about how, you know, you left your kind of full-time cushy, let's say, job to pursue something that maybe you didn't know what it was, or I don't know, did you know what it was? But if we're talking about like tips and that kind of thing, so do you have any advice that you can give to people who are looking to leave their job, myself, or someone who maybe doesn't have that clear vision? Like, what would be your suggestion?
I think get as uncomfortable as possible. Honestly, it is the best advice that I can give you, because if we are just a little bit comfortable, we like have this idea in our head, we're like, it's not that bad. Like, think about anything in your life, like a bad relationship, and then they bring you flowers home after a big fight. It's like, well, maybe it's not that bad. Or a job, it's like, well, today wasn't terrible, so, you know, I'll just stick around. If you can start doing things that like really terrify you, then you're going to be like, I need to push myself outside of my comfort zone.
Your answer terrifies me. I know, I'm like, I know, because I was laid off after mat leave, which left me with no EI, and like, have I ever hustled harder in my life than that time? No.
Yeah, when you have like your back against the wall, like, I was make things uncomfortable for yourself.
Exactly. Like, I had no choice. I was going to job interviews, couldn't land a job. Then I kind of just started my own little marketing and PR company, and like that was growing, but like I also cleaned houses because I'm like, I just need to make money. I have to feed my kids. You know, so I was afraid at that time, like, I don't have a job. And now part of me is like, what if I got laid off? I wouldn't be, maybe that's the little like nudge that I need. You know?
Listen, like, it's crazy. We always think that like we don't know our capabilities until we are forced into those scenarios. And I think like once you realize how much stronger you actually can be.
Because you're in charge. So you're like, okay, I love my job, great place to work, but like, I'm okay if something happens. I'm responsible for myself, and I know how to like make a dollar on my own. And
a hack for doing that, rather than just being like, I'm gonna just leave my job and hope for the best.
Right.
Is do things outside of your job that terrify you. So like for me, when I left my corporate position and started working solo, it was because I went to Costa Rica and I went on a zipline tour, and I'm terrified of heights.
Okay.
And at the end of the tour, they had this thing called a Tarzan swing. And it was terrifying to me, so I'm like, yeah, let me just try and do it. Where they basically like, they strap you in, and then they just kind of like, you jump off a cliff. It's a leap. It's literally a leap of faith. And I remember...
Oh, I read that article.
Yeah, I remember being there, and I was just swinging. There's a whole video of this, and I just start crying because it was the first time that I realized, like, I couldn't remember the last time I was, like, happy, and I was just myself, and it was just joyful. And that was something that I was wrestling with for months before that happened, but it took that, like, moment of just discomfort for me to be like, it just put everything in perspective. So you don't have to jump off a cliff. That's probably also a bad advice. But do things like take improv, or try stand-up comedy, or go and do karaoke. The first time I did it scared the
Oh, I'm like a karaoke queen. So that little girl, that's me. I'm the karaoke queen. That was my like entertainment.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I love
so
to think that my voice is amazing, and people tell me I have a nice voice, but I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, put me in front of a microphone and like, I'm gonna sing to like
Okay. So this doesn't count. If you have a good voice, then this doesn't count. But if you're like me and you have a terrible voice, go do karaoke. Because I do find once you do that and you have that adrenaline rush, a lot of things come into perspective.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about is, we often think like, okay, getting uncomfortable, it's like a mental thing, right? Okay, I have to leave my job or whatever. But what you're doing is you're getting uncomfortable physically, but you're training your body to get uncomfortable. And then you're like, yeah, nothing is hard at that point. Like if you know how to fix your fears. Fears don't have to be physical. They can be in your mind as well. And
I'm the type of person that like, I dip my toes into the water. Like I'm not that person that's going to go like belly first. Yeah, okay. No, I'm not that person at all. And so for me, like, I have to constantly train myself to be uncomfortable. Like last year I took this challenge from one of my business partners to make myself break out in nervous hives every day.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because I break out in hives every time I'm uncomfortable.
Oh, really?
And so he's like, do it every day. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, and then
I tried it. And then, and like, I mean, you're always going to have that kind of reaction, but your body becomes used to, okay, plus it's also, I mean, the greatest moments of joy for me have been after I've broken out in hives.
Oh, really?
Right? It's like going on stage. It's jumping off a cliff. It's all of those things.
That's when the adrenaline, like it's the rush after the adrenaline. Like it's like the downfall. You're like, I did it. And then you feel proud, obviously.
Like I know people talk about sometimes, like especially when you love traveling, they're like, I feel bad for people that have never traveled before. I feel bad for people that have never broken out in nervous hives before.
That's a cool way to explain it.
Because it's like you've never left your home, which like for most people it's like, I'm comfortable. And it's like, but life isn't meant to be just comfortable. Life is meant to be exciting and wonderful and joyful and you're supposed to like push yourself to the limit and see what you can accomplish and like just like savor every single moment. And I feel like so many people are kind of selling themselves short. I think so many of us are like in our own way.
And it's that whole like, okay, if you were sick or if you died, or like if if you died one day and when you're like, okay, did I live? Am I happy with where I'm at today? That like I've accomplished as much as I can, or I've lived like the best life, or and I always say that like I'm okay to go if I had to go. I'm okay to go.
That's the best feeling, right? Yeah. It's like, what is worse, breaking out of nervous hives or like painful regret? And regret to me is something that I just don't ever want to have in my life. Actually, it's kind of morbid, but I just read this book. It's really actually uplifting. It's called The 5 Regrets of the Dying, and it's written by a palliative nurse. And the number one regret from people that she worked with was not living a life that's true to you and living the life that was expected from other people.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's like a little bit of me. I studied, I have a biochem degree. I came to Ottawa to study biochem. And I was going to, be a doctor, and that was going to be my destiny or whatever. And in high school, I had to choose science classes or art classes. But of course, I was smart, so I was like, nope, that'd be a doctor. That's a smart thing to do. And then when I was in university, I didn't do well in class. Like it was really hard. I didn't study right. I didn't have the right support. I was working, so it was really hard to really focus on school. And then one day I had to have like the talk with myself, and I was like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. And so I struggled to finish my science degree. And then now it's like art has found me again. But do I regret? Do I regret like my science brain and developing that? No, because it makes me the smart person that I am today. But definitely, it's funny that what you're meant to do, it'll come find you. And I had someone read my palm once, and she said that. She said, oh, your passion's going to come find you again. She said you had to choose one of two, like that fork in the road. You chose the one that you were supposed to, or like that you think you were supposed to do, but she's like, your other part's going to find you, and it has. So I love that. Cool. Okay, let's talk a bit about makeup. I see that you're a Tarte girl. Are you a Tarte girl? Like, what's going on here? Tarte is good makeup.
So I love Tarte. I also went to VidCon last year, so
were they there?
They were there.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so they
Tarte?
so they have definitely hooked it up. But
Okay.
I have really sensitive skin. So
it's good quality makeup though.
Yeah. I love like beach days and summer days, so I like things that are just a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Rather than like just super aggressive. I actually feel really uncomfortable when my makeup, like my eye makeup, is too like
heavy?
intense. Yeah, because I'm just like, it doesn't look like me. It doesn't like feel like me.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'm like painting my face. I'm like,
But like style does
really
matter, right? Like I've had my makeup professionally done, and I've worked with especially when it's at Crown Plaza, like worked with models that they're very particular. Like they'll come with like at least foundation and their eyebrows, and they're like, you can do whatever else you want, but like this is always going to be my base, right? So it's like kind of figuring out what your base is, where your comfort level is, because I used to be like, you can do whatever you want, and now I'm like,
no, you know,
I'm okay with being that person, because I'm like, if I'm going to look at pictures or I'm going to look at videos where I'm like, that doesn't look like me at all, I feel really uncomfortable, then it's kind of pointless, right?
So I used to be a makeup artist, like officially. I used to do weddings and stuff, but rarely did I ever get my own makeup done because I was so picky, and it's a little bit of that too. And there's like one makeup artist that I have never touched up after she did work. Shout out Taryn Miller. She is insanely talented. Mm-hmm. But no, it's the same thing. You don't feel like yourself, and it's always like the other person's interpretation of you, which I always find interesting, because I'm like, oh, like brown basic? No, I'm like, put the glitter.
Brown basic. That's what I look like.
Put the black, smoky, go nuts. Put that red lip on me. Like, I am not afraid of makeup.
Okay, I have to show you this then. So especially if you're a makeup artist, I had my makeup done for my wedding, and it's pretty much the greatest thing of life. Every time I'm having a bad day, I pull it up. I asked for like very beachy makeup, but I got married in the Bahamas.
Okay.
So they were used to working with darker skin tones than mine. Ooh. And so it would have looked really good for probably somebody that wasn't me. But I ended up looking like
yeah, that's little porn star. Little porn star, not gonna lie. Now that we survived that terrible porn star photo of you.
It's my favorite thing ever.
I had about like the whole speaker thing again. I wanted to ask you, like, how do you prepare for your speech or your story, or is there a process, or is it, because I watch a lot of your videos, and like, first of all, you're very well spoken. You don't stutter. I have what's called disease, so I do that a lot. You don't stutter a lot, and anyways, like, give us some tips on that.
So I certainly do stutter, and I do all of those things. So thank you for saying that. I use an app called BigView, which is BIGVU. Have you ever heard of it?
No, what is this?
It's a teleprompter.
Oh.
So you can use it with iOS. And so I am the type of person, I have some friends that can do video on the fly. And I will never be that person, because I am just awkward and usually uncomfortable and all of those things. And so I use a teleprompter. So I'll either write my outline so that I don't go off on a tangent, or I will like fully script it and then just kind of read it.
Shit.
Yeah.
No, damn.
I know. That's
it's all lies.
Oh gosh. I mean, I am just really, really eloquent and well spoken. And I don't use any app at all.
Scratch that. No, but on stage too?
So on stage, I mean, that's just honestly just practice. I mean, when you create a keynote, you've done it hopefully so many times that it's kind of just second nature. And so I probably done my latest keynote, I don't know, probably let's say 30 times. before, and I mean that's not including me practicing, so I need to practice with everything. Like even when it comes to like podcast interviews or anything like that, I'm like rehearsing because I don't want to like come across as I don't know.
No, yeah. I know, I always get nervous and sometimes I don't practice. Like actually I recorded a podcast yesterday and I was nervous because usually I like to eat before I record. I don't know if you have that, but it's like my brain's on when I have something in my stomach. I just feel like more sharp, and I hadn't had anything to eat, and I was like really hungry and kind of like But I don't know, somehow like Chantsy kicked in, and then I was like I was on, and then I was like dead after. And I was really trying hard not just stutter, but this is like. My first podcast interview that I did with Laura Kelly, I was listening to it and I'm like, well, people probably think I'm like this dumb blonde with, and it was like, the whole time, or like, and I was like, oh boy. Anyway,
I feel like that's natural though. Like, aren't we kind of tired of just listening to people that are like, like a robot?
So perfect,
yeah. I like feeling like the person that's on a podcast is talking to me, not at me.
So. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. Can we just pause for a moment and I'm done my makeup.
That's amazing.
I've never done my makeup before the guest.
I'm literally finished.
So, I guess that's it.
Cool.
We're done. Are you done? Do you need more
I'm
time?
done.
You're done.
I'm done.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for coming on the show, the Beauties with Strategies show, where I get to interview smart businesswomen while we do our makeup. Usually I like to say, like, can you vote for which look you like? But I feel like that's a stupid question. It's which makeup do you like better? Just engage with the video, would ya? Give it a big thumbs up if you learned something today. Pop that in the comments down below. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.